لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم. وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون. هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون. ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون. ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون. وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون. واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون. فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون. أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين. وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين شفيع المذنبين وحبيب قلوب الصادقين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الهداة المهديين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات Respected Maulana, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we have a Majlis, a gathering of mourning and remembrance in honor of one of our mu'mineen who passed away in Pakistan, leaving behind a large family filled with sadness and grief. Marhum Joun Ali, son of Muhammad Ali. May Allah have mercy on him and elevate his rank in Jannah in the company of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad alayhimu salatu wassalam. And also we are saddened by the death of one of the very active and very effective ulama in the United States and Canada, who has come to this area, and many of us may have benefited from his knowledge and his insight, and most of all, his sincerity and his devotion. Born and raised and lived in the West and devoted his life to the service of the path of Allah and the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. And he was a colleague of myself and Maulana Sahib, and a very blessed and a very pure soul, Maulana Marhum Sayyid Asad Jafri. May Allah elevate his rank and grant him the highest reward. And I would add a third occasion, because there are so many shuhada. Whether we look to Gaza or Syria or Lebanon or Pakistan, people who are targeted because of their faith in Allah, because of their refusal to compromise with evil and injustice, because they refuse to live a materialistic life and they want to live a spiritual life. And although it is very tragic to see the scenes and to hear of the suffering and the loss of those people, I want us to remember that when you see those tragic pictures, remember that we are the students of Ahlul Bayt. Because sometimes people, they look at that suffering and they say, find some way to alleviate the suffering for the betterment of your material circumstances. For example, if you take out a julus and the enemies of Ahlul Bayt target that julus, then don't take out any more julus and you can save your lives. Or if you wish to commemorate the martyrdom of Imam Hussein and then somebody harms you or attacks you because of that commemoration, then don't do so. And you will save your life and you will be able maybe to have a long and a prosperous existence. Or if you demand your freedom, then what is that few miles of earth that you are going to defend? Go and become a refugee and give it up and live your life. Sometimes when people look at the tragedy and they just remember the tragedy, then these ideas come to their mind. So it's very important for us to remember that we don't just grieve at the tragedy, we do grieve. But we also remember that there is no tragedy and no event that takes place in this universe without the wisdom and the decree and the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are the students and the lovers of that lady who, when she was in the court of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad as a captive, and the heads of her loved ones, the grandson of the Prophet, her brother, and then the family of Fatima and Ali alayhim as-salam were raised on spears. And she was asked, كَيْفَ رَأَيْتِ صُنْعَ اللَّهِ بِكُمْ? Mockingly, did you see what Allah did to you? The entire scene of Karbala would have played in front of the eyes of Sayyidah Zainab when she was asked about Karbala. But at that moment, did she say that we suffered, we were wounded, we were bleeding, we were hungry, we were thirsty, our children were martyred in our arms? All of that was true. And if we remember those masa'ib, then we learned musibah and majlis and matam from Sayyidah Zainab. So that grief was there. But there was also the other side of that same tragedy that Lady Zainab remembered. And that is what she spoke of at that moment. You are asking me, what did I think of what Allah did for us? Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. If they will attack me because I am a lover of Ahlul Bayt, then I am not going to say, change my name, change my identity, change my practice, and flee. I will say that I will proclaim with greater confidence. And the very fact that evil people hate you is a sign that you are on the right path. Because the animosity of the evil is an honor. It isn't a shame. You should be worried if Yazid and Muawiyah and the sons of Yazid and Muawiyah want to be your friend. You should not be worried if those criminals and those oppressors and those who follow in their footsteps wish to be your enemy. So when we remember Ma ra'aytu illa jamila, even when we see houses razed to the ground and we can't look at the picture and we cry, Even when we hear of mu'mineen, women and men who are carrying the janazah of their young sons, sometimes they are newlywed. Sometimes those shuhada, they have a 6-month-old child and they weren't drafted, but they went voluntarily. What young mother sends her husband to die? What young father leaves his children and says that even if there is a risk, but I will go. I will volunteer. I will compete to be the first, to be in the front. Who is it that makes that decision? It is somebody who learned from Imam Hussein and from the path of Imam Hussein what it means to be a Muslim and what it means to be a human being. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So I want to tie all of these remembrances to a verse of the Quran, which is very beautiful and very instructive. And because this is a weeknight, I want to keep the Majlis very brief so that inshallah we get a remembrance of our values and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a dua for these marhumeen and for their families. Allah says, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. If somebody is pious, then Allah will give them rizq from where they don't expect. Sometimes people, they add a word in the translation or in the understanding, and they say that Allah will give them rizq even from where they don't expect. But there is no even in this verse. Rather, Allah will deliberately take away the rizq they expected. Because if I get rizq from where I expected, then maybe I will think this is because I worked for it or I earned it. Allah will take away the rizq you earned and you were expecting. And then He will give you rizq from a different source. So you know that this came maybe because of your effort. If you hadn't made effort, Allah wouldn't have given it to you. But Allah wants you to know that although He gave it to you because of your effort, you didn't take it from Allah's treasury. He gave it to you. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. If you are surrounded by your enemy, and if there is a superpower that you confront, if you are Ibrahim alayhi wa ala nabiyyina wa alihi salatu wassalam, and there is Numrud in front of you, and he has all of the power, and he has collected even members of your own family to condemn you to death, and he builds a fire so large that even the birds and the animals cannot fly over it or near it. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. There's no escape. And if you are on the path of Ibrahim, then you will be victorious. Allah will create a way out. Maybe He will save you. But if He doesn't save you in this world, then even your death will defeat your enemy. And that is why we remember that those detours are even more blessed than the straightforward path that we expect. If I start a business, I would love to break even soon and then steadily increase my profit until I can expand my business. But sometimes I need to have a loss in order for me to know that I was thinking or approaching that business wrong. And if I didn't suffer that loss, then maybe I would have relied on a partner who would have destroyed everything I work for later on. Or maybe I would have done something else foolish and I wouldn't have realized it until it was too late. I want the straightforward path. But sometimes the detour and the difficulty is better for me than that which was easy and expected. يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Allah will give you your rizq. Whether it be wealth, whether it be knowledge. And I would add that one type of rizq that God might give you is death. Because I knew Sayyid Asad Jafri, we spoke periodically, and his passion was to raise a generation of mu'mineen in this land that is surrounded by kufr. You know, sometimes you graduate to an advanced level and then you don't have patience for beginners. If I am a PhD, I don't want to teach kindergarten. If I am educated and I worked for a graduate degree, I say I shouldn't be driving a taxi. I might think I'm better than that. Maybe that person is much better than I am. Because I am arrogant and I am self-centered and they are humble. This is our foolishness that, well, I shouldn't be driving a taxi. I shouldn't be working manual labor. I shouldn't be teaching kids how to read alif, ba, and how to read Quran. I am an alim. It's the same arrogance. Whether I'm proud of my university degree and I say I don't want to work a simple job, that's for somebody else to vacuum in the masjid. I'm going to come as a professional and I'm going to sit down. And when there is a meeting, then I will talk for a long time about my opinions because I'm smart. But I'm not going to pick up the crumbs that fall on the floor. That's for other people who don't have my experience and my education and my intelligence. Or whether my arrogance is because of my hawza training and my ilm. And I say, bring together for me a bunch of knowledgeable people and I will talk to them about advanced fiqh or tafsir. That's arrogance. Those of you who knew Marhum Sayyid Asad Jafri, he was more comfortable teaching those children, 6 or 7 years of age, that love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to overwhelm you with facts so you can say, MashaAllah, how knowledgeable this alim is. MashaAllah, how great a speech he gives. I will play games with you. I will talk to you. I want you to love Allah and love Rasulullah and love Ahlul Bayt. So that was his passion and his devotion. And maybe if he had lived a long life, then he would be like many other ulama. They live their life and they teach and they have an effect and then they pass on. But Allah said that that is your passion, so we are going to create barakah. And how do I know whether maybe that unexpected death brought more attention to what kind of a person he was? And all of those students who were expecting to see him in their class, many of them might say that this is inspirational. And maybe I will now be motivated to become an alim. And who knows if one of those children who is so inspired will be the next marji' taqleed. Or the next scholar who will lead an ummah out of darkness. Allah knows. So the passion was tabligh. And I think that if I have a long life, then I will visit more communities and I will give more speeches and I will write more articles and I will teach more children and I will have an effect. I don't know what the purpose of Allah was, but I am just telling you that we should be aware of these possibilities. That maybe I am a better muballigh in my death than I could ever be in my life. Because it shines a light on the way I lived and the way I died, and the memories and the legacy that I leave behind. Otherwise, Allah doesn't have a shortage of people to give a dars of tafsir or a dars of fiqh. That's not the shortage. There is a shortage of people with a passion for the spiritual health of their community. Allah doesn't have a shortage of people with money. For me to say that if I can just earn a little bit more money, then I can give Allah alone. These masjids, they're in debt. No. وَلِلَّهِ خَزَائِنُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah has the treasures of heaven and earth. He created them. But there is a shortage of people who will devote the wealth that they have been given by Allah for His cause. So even if my passion is to be effective in guiding my family or my community, I think that it is by reaching more people in my life. And who knows, maybe it is in my death, in the masjid. And that is also an honor. Because when you die in the masjid, then that is now part of history, where your heart and where your soul was, and where you considered your true home to be. I'm just giving one example. But all of the marhumeen and all of the shuhada, this is our belief, that their blood and their soul and their spirit can still guide and teach and even protect their young children and their families in death as it could in life, and maybe more so. So the point is, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And if you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then He is all you need. You know how sometimes we say that, let me gather all of my different resources. And we think of everything that we have and everyone that we know and all that we possess. And we have a list of what are we going to use, and plan A and plan B and plan C. And then we still wonder, have I saved enough for retirement? Have I made good enough arrangements for my affairs? What if this person that I am giving power of attorney to, what if they're not available? Then who will take care of my children? You don't need plan A and B and C, and then still worry, is it enough? All you need is one plan. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And then Allah will tell you, yes, give power of attorney and make a will and set aside some money for savings. That's not now plan B. I only have one plan. My tawakkul and reliance is only on Allah. But then when Allah tells me, do these things, because this is my guidance and this is my wisdom, then I will do those things. But I will not have stress. Because my reliance is not on my savings. My reliance is not on my will. My reliance is not on my preparation. But it is on Allah. And this takes aql for us to understand. Otherwise, how many times do we say, so-and-so died before their time? Now, on one level, from our perspective, that's okay. It is before their time in our understanding. But if I say that, oh Allah, why? Why do you let this happen? then that is a sign that my aql is deficient. There is a narration from a companion of our sixth Imam, Imam Jafri al-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, Sulayman al-Daylami. He says that I said to Imam Jafri al-Sadiq, praising somebody who was a mu'min and a great worshipper, and I said, Fulan min dinihi, min ibadatihi wa dinihi wa fadlih. This person has such great worship and such great religiosity and such great virtue. And the Imam said, Kayfa aqlu? And I said, La adri. Imam said, what is his wisdom? What is his intelligence? What is his aql? And I said, I don't know. That I saw his ibadah, I saw his religiosity, I saw his virtue. I never thought to question or examine his aql. Imam says that Allah doesn't give you your ibadah, your thawab and reward for your ibadah on the basis of what you do. I think that if I'm going to fast for a whole month, I'm going to impress Allah. That Allah, I saved all of this food so that it could rot in the store. Am I going to impress Allah that I did these salat? No, Imam says it is your aql. Then the Imam, he gave an example, our sixth Imam. He said there was an abid of Bani Israel. He did ibadah on a secluded island. It was a very fertile island with trees and fresh water, springs, and so much beauty. And he was alone and he would do ibadah. And one of the angels, they saw this ibadah, and the angel said that, oh Allah, show me the reward of this abid who spends all of his time abandoning the dunya and just worshipping you. And Allah showed that angel the ibadah, and the angel said, this seems to be much less than I would have expected. He does so much. Allah said, go down in human form and spend some time with him. So that angel, with the permission of Allah, came down and assumed the form of a human and went to that island. And the abid, the worshipper, he said, who are you? He said, I am a worshipper and I heard about you and I wanted to join you and share in your worship. So they began to do worship together all day and night. And then the next morning, when the dawn broke on that beautiful land, and they looked upon, the gushing springs and the green leaves and the meadows and pastures, the angel said that this is a beautiful land. وَمَا يَصْلُحُ إِلَّا لِلْعِبَادَةِ. And there's nothing that is better for this island than to do ibadah in it. And the abid said, yes, but there is one defect in this land. It's beautiful, but it's defective. The angel said, what is the defect? And that worshipper, he said, there's all this grass, and Allah doesn't have any animal, a cow or a donkey that could graze. And all this grass, it grows and it goes to waste. And the angel said, your Lord doesn't have a donkey? This is going to waste? And that is how Allah told the angel that now you understand why the reward was less than you expected. You were looking at kathratu as-sawm was-salat, the quantity of worship, prayer, fasting. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the insight, the wisdom, the intellect. If you have intellect, then you will see that there is not a single drop of water that falls to the earth that just falls somewhere and goes to waste. And not a single blade of grass grows from the earth without the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody is born at the wrong time. Nobody dies at the wrong time. Nobody's life is cut short before Allah's decree came that their soul can be taken. And nobody's life is extended because of medicine or because of human intervention without Allah saying that I will allow this treatment or this effort to bear fruit. And if I have that aql, then I will be able to truly believe that I don't need to put my faith in all of my planning, but I just need to plan for how to serve Allah, and Allah will take care of me. And He will take care of my family. And He will take care of my children even if they are young, and my parents even if they are old. Allah tells us, آباؤكم وأبناؤكم لا تدرون أيهم أقرب لكم نفعا. Sometimes there are people, they forget their parents when they have kids. Or they forget their parents when they get married. What are you going to do for me? Now you're not working, now you're not earning. And sometimes parents play favorite among their children. One child, for example, is very smart and succeeds in school, and so the parents say that this is the child that's going to become a professional and take care of us. And it's the other child that they ignored that fulfills their loyalty to the parent and not the one that they counted on. We don't know. آباؤكم وأبناؤكم لا تدرون أيهم أقرب لكم نفعا. You don't know whether your parents will come to your benefit or whether your children will come to your benefit. And among your children, which of them? And among your relatives, which of them? Maybe the one I count on is the one who will not be there. Maybe they won't survive. Maybe they won't want to help me. And what I thought would never be able to benefit me, that is where Allah's help will come from. Not knowing this fact will give me consolation. When you lose a loved one, with a family, with young children, with so much promise and potential, then you will be sad. But then, when you remember that, what were you going to do for all of those things that you wanted to do? That you could do better than Allah. And if Allah has taken your soul, then He has a plan for how to accomplish that goal, which you thought depended on you. And so even in your grief, you have consolation. And that is why, even in the grief of Karbala, there was strength. Briefly, let us look at both the grief and the strength. The one that everybody in Karbala, from Imam Hussein alayhi salam to Sayyida Zainab salamullahi alayha, to all of the women and even the children, counted on more than anyone else to be there by the side of Imam Hussein and to support him, was Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. The standard bearer, the right-hand man, the heir of Imam Ali, and the one, when you looked at him, you would see how Khaybar was conquered single-handedly, because that was the blood in the veins of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. So when Lady Zainab saw 30,000 enemy soldiers, she had no fear in her heart, because the one who was the father and the one who was the trainer of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas had fought so many similar battles and scattered the enemy with just his own determination. When Imam Hussein looked at Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he didn't see a brother or a person. He saw an army in one person. And so, when Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas came to Imam Hussein and said, Mawla, jang ki ijazat hai? Do I have permission to go to the battlefield? It was as if the Imam was being asked for his entire army to go at once. The Imam, he paused. He wept. He remembered Amir al-Mu'mineen and the love that he had for Abbas. He remembered when his father on his deathbed placed the hand of Abbas in the hand of Hussein and said that, "Oh Abbas, you will always be by the side of Hussein." And maybe he asked him that, "Oh my brother, now are you going to leave my side?" And as the two brothers looked at each other, there was a voice that rose from the tents, al-Atash, al-Atash. And Imam Hussein said that, "Oh Abbas, I know that you can do battle with a sword. I know that you are the prayer, the dua of Amir al-Mu'mineen. I know that you can recreate Badr and Uhud, Khaybar and Khandaq in one charge in Karbala. But oh Abbas, I am going to ask you to do a battle which even my father never did. Put your sword in your sheath and take the standard which my father used to carry, the standard of Islam, the standard that Imam Mahdi will bring. Take that standard and take a water skin and go and bring water for these children. For as we have been engaged in battle, we hear their weeping, their cries, their thirst." And Abbas went. He wasn't going to battle. So Imam Hussein never bid him farewell the way that he bid Ali Akbar farewell, or that he bid Qasim farewell. Because when Imam Hussein sent Qasim, when Imam Hussein sent Ali Akbar, he was sending them to die. But when he sent Abbas, he wasn't sending him to die, he was sending him to bring water. So maybe there was in the heart of Imam Hussein that the wida, the parting, that I wish I am not able to speak those words, because I am not telling my brother that he is going to die. I am not sending him for martyrdom, even if Imam Hussein knew. But that wida, that greeting, that was in the heart and on the tongue of Imam Hussein, that I wish, oh Allah, to be able to express to my brother what he means for me, what he means for Ahlul Bayt. And so when the time came and Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas fell to the ground from his horse, having lost his arms and having been covered with wounds all over his body, and he called out, "Assalamu alayka ya Mawla, ya Aba Abdullah." And the Imam rushed to his side. Now the Imam was going to bid farewell. And although it was a great distance that the Imam had to cover, but Allah kept the soul of Abbas in his body, so he could speak to Imam Hussein and Imam could speak to him, and those two brothers could bid farewell. And the Imam cradled Abbas's head in his lap. He said that, "Oh my brother, how can I express to you what this loss is?" This was not the weakness of the Imam, this was the strength. Because after this, Imam Hussein is going to do his own battle, and the enemy will say that we never saw a person so wounded, so thirsty, so alone, fight with such courage as we saw Imam Hussein fight on those days. So you will see the courage. But here Imam expresses the grief. He says, "Oh my brother, al-an انكسر ظهري وقلت حيلتي وشمت بي عدوي, O my brother Abbas. Now when I stand upon your body as it is martyred, I feel as if my back is broken. I will go to the battlefield, but I will not be standing straight. And oh Abbas, until now I didn't care how many thousands of armed soldiers were surrounding me. I didn't fear for my children and for my family. But now, Abbas, qallat hilati, I have nowhere to turn and no hope in their safety. And the battle is not over. But the Imam says that already the enemy is celebrating. وَالشَّمَتَ بِي عَدُوِّي. My enemy has seen, by martyring you, that it is not you they have martyred, but it is the heart of Imam Hussein. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honor all of the shuhada in the path of Imam Hussein and Ahlul Bayt. And our two marhumeen, marhum Joun Ali and marhum Maulana Sayyid Asad Jafri, man mata ala hubbi ali Muhammad mata shahida. They died with the love of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. May they also have the death and the honor of the martyrs in the path of Allah. For the reward of all of the shuhada of Islam, please recite Surah Al-Fatiha. And stand for Ziyarat.
السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نوراً في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. السلام عليكم جميع الشهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن شريك القرآن إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن everyone صلواتك عليه سب ملكه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.